Hello, everyone. Ryan Anthony Hernandez here, host of the Truth That Heals podcast. And every now and then, I like to do an episode where it's just me, unfiltered, unscripted, and speak about a certain theme, a certain topic. And for today, I wanted to talk about the power of expression, the power of creativity, and how I've seen it grow so much in my life. But before we begin, if you would like to support this channel, please feel free to subscribe, to follow, to share, to comment. And if you would like to support even further, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. Go to this link and you can support me in other ways. So without further ado, let's dive into this episode. I wanted to dive into a bit about who I am. Who the hell am I? Because I'm here doing podcasts, I'm doing YouTube, and I feel like I still am a mystery at times. Sometimes I'm even a mystery to myself. And I believe that is a consequence of the life that I lived before. For those of you who don't know, I used to be in an end times cult. And when I left, I had no identity. I did not know who I was. I did not know what it was that I liked, what it was that I didn't like, because for so many years, my life had been just obey. And it was as if I was non-existent, at least an identity. I mean, I was there, I was alive, I've experienced many things, but I didn't have my own personal identity. And what I want to get into is, like I said earlier, the power of expression and creativity. Because when I first started this podcast, I started off broken, very shy, very nervous. I needed to have a script because the way I started this was I wanted to find a way to get my truth out there, because sadly, I didn't know what my truth was. So I think a way for me to discover it was to make a project, and that ended up being the podcast, where I was sharing all the things, or many of the things, that happened during my experience in the end times cult. And I wanted to do it because I was sick and tired of other people having their own narratives. And it's like my narrative, I wasn't free. I didn't feel free to let it out because I was afraid of other people's opinions. I was afraid of people blaming me for the things that happened in that abusive environment. So by me doing the podcast, it was a way for me to seize control. This is going to be my narrative. This is going to be my project. And I want to have fun with it. But like I said, it was terrifying. And I needed some scripts at first to help me get through the storytelling. Now, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on Spotify video, you'll see that I'm able to speak and I'm not holding any scripts. And it's amazing to see this development from when I first started doing this a few years ago to where I am today. Because before, it was just so much fear, so much trembling, not only in my voice as I was speaking on the podcast, but even as I was holding my scripts, my piece of paper, I would be shaking. But now I wanted to get into the power of creativity. And to share the power of creativity, I need to go back to before I joined this end times cult. Because Ryan back then was not the same Ryan who came out in 2015 from the cult. When I came out in 2015, like I said, I was terrified. I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't have a life. But before I joined, I was growing up in LA, going to high school. I would have like a small digital camera. I remember going around Vegas, going around LA, filming stuff, kind of even, recording myself talking. And I had a lot of fun. I would have a lot of fun also daydreaming. What is it that I would like to do with my life? I would love to interview people. Oh, I would love to go and take pictures and write down interviews and maybe write for a magazine one day or do something. Those were my dreams. And I was already kind of walking into that that path. I was searching for that. I mean, it really was something that was already growing in my heart. And it was like, I wasn't a documentarian or a filmmaker, nothing like that. I wasn't a writer. I was just a kid in high school. But I had this strong desire. I had this love for creativity, especially through the cameras, through writing, through communication. But then I joined this end times cult, and I shared a lot about that. But there was a period there where I felt so isolated because I was isolated. And in this time, when I was isolated, I wasn't allowed to really be with the members. But it's like, let's say every every day I'm in isolation, or you can say solitary confinement, however you want to put it. But like once or twice a week, they would release me where I could be with other members and I could go travel to another location to be with other families. And I'd pretend like everything is fine. And, this was like their way of gaslighting me to saying, oh, you're not being in solitary confinement. We love you. We take care of you. And I'd be with these families and I'd pretend like everything's okay, but deep inside I was dying, and deep inside I was losing the memory of who Ryan Anthony was. I no longer knew what was my identity because I had to put on so many masks and I had to pretend I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm good to go. But then after, like, they would show me off like once a week or twice a week, I would come back to the house and I'd once again be in my isolation, not allowed to talk to other members, not allowed to eat with the other members, not allowed to have recreation with the other members. So it was a total mind fuck. And I don't like to cuss that much anymore. I know when I first left the cult, I was cussing so much because there was just so much anger and there was just a lack of vocabulary to express what it was that I was feeling inside. But I'm saying bad words now. It was like a mind fuck because then I was gaslighting myself into believing, yeah, they do care for me. They do love me. And here I am, they're showing me off and I'm here with these families. So yeah, it's proof that they do love me. But the truth was that it's like when I go back to the community, it's again, I'm isolated, no longer part of the group. That's per the leadership. I have no bad hard feelings towards anybody, especially the other members, because I know that they were doing what they were just told to do. But deep inside, I was I was dying. And not only was I when I say I was dying, it's like my identity, my ambitions in life were all fading away. So when I finally left that place, escaped or however you want to put it, when I finally left and came back to the United States, I no longer had a taste for creativity. I no longer had a taste for communicating, for talking to people. And I remember even family members were asking, Ryan, what's up with you? Why are you so different? Why are you not the happy go lucky guy from 11 years ago? And to be honest, I didn't know who I was anymore. I forgot about that part of my life where I was happy, I was joyful, I had peace. But little by little, I feel like that seed of creativity or that seed of desiring to communicate with people, I felt like it was still there. And you can't, I couldn't do anything about it. It just started coming out, and I just had this weird desire to do a podcast. I've never done a podcast. I've been out of line. I mean, I've been out of this regular world for so long. I was in the cult world for so long. And it's like, why the hell do I feel like I need to do a podcast? I don't know. I can't explain it, but I feel like I need to do a podcast. So I start doing a podcast. And at first, initially, it was fun. It was just like talking about entertainment, talking about stuff happening here in San Antonio or stuff in LA. And I was just having fun. I did like probably like 5 to 7 episodes. And it was nothing about hardship, nothing about trauma, nothing about challenges. It was just a happy go lucky type of podcast. But deep inside, I I was telling myself, don't bullshit yourself, Ryan. There's a part of me that was saying, don't bullshit yourself. And that's when I realized, you know what, if I'm going to be a creative person, if I'm going to do a podcast, I want to be fucking real. I want to be a realistic person. I want to be genuine. Because I don't like when you see other people doing their work, and if you know that they're not being genuine, if you know that they're not being real, you can sometimes smell that bullshit from a mile away, and you might get turned off. That's how I am. So my mind was thinking, you know what? If I'm going to make a project, if I'm going to do a project, I need to be real. I want to be authentic. And yes, part of me wanted to do that podcast where it's all like fun and exciting and just have just random talks. Part of me also wanted to be real. So for a while, for a long time, I started getting dark. I started getting it was actually even depressing talking about trauma, talking about abuse, and also allowing others to come onto the podcast because initially I didn't have it planned to talk about trauma or other cults. I just kind of wanted to make a project where I can just be me and maybe I can be an influencer or I don't know. I just wanted to have fun. But little by little, people were asking, hey, can I be on your podcast? And to be honest, I was terrified because I'd never gone to school to learn how to interview people for a podcast. So when I look back at my first rounds of podcast of interviewing for the podcast, even like lately, I mean, I've seen a lot of growth, but in the beginning it was terrifying. And I was thinking, what have I done? Why did I do podcasting? It's like I'm not fully healed yet. And now people are wanting me to interview them. I was terrified. But at the same time, I felt like it was healing. It was so healing for me to get people to come on the show and to have so much patience from them because I mean many could tell. I mean you could freaking tell. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. As an interviewer, as a podcaster, as doing edits, I had no idea. But while I got myself on this path, I found myself taking up this challenge and telling myself, you know what, I'm going to learn. And then instead of me being so depressed, I would focus so much time on my healing. I would focus my time on also how am I going to make this podcast better? How am I going to make this story more beautiful? And then I would learn editing. I would learn a little bit about lighting. And I mean, I'm still learning, as you can see. I mean, I don't got a whole studio or anything. By the same time, what I learned from doing podcasting, from just starting, is that I did not know what step two, what step three was going to go, but I made sure that I gave step one my damn best. And now I just wanted to share that by starting this project of doing a podcast, I met amazing people, not just people who have been through religious trauma, not only people who have been in cults. I met amazing people from different backgrounds, and that is what I want. That is what I desire, is to meet people from so many different backgrounds and to hear their story, to hear their truth, because it's not just my truth. I believe that everyone can have a truth, can share a truth, and I want to hear about it. But the hardest thing to do, in my experience, is to express oneself, because for so long I was afraid of ridicule. For so long I was afraid, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Or am I going to be friends with these people still? Like, if I express myself, are they still going to be my friends? Or are they going to maybe unfriend me? Or are they going to block me? And that was disturbing. That feeling that kept me so, it had me going back to that feeling of when I was in isolation. If I do this, will I be punished? If I do this, will I be looked down on by others? But something beautiful happened, and that is the power to love oneself, the power to, and I'm not saying this to be like selfish, but to look at oneself and to, even in the mirror, or just saying it to yourself in your head, and it's like, you know what, I know I have maybe some faults. I'm not the most perfect person, but I love myself enough to not give up. I love myself enough to know that there is potential and that growth is freaking possible. And growth has been possible. And I'm still seeing every day. I still have my challenges. I still have my mountains that I need to climb. But I wanted to share this because creativity has helped me to open the doors to climb so many personal mountains and to find peace. And anyways, I just wanted to end this by letting you all know that I've started a new YouTube channel slash Instagram. It's called Creativity Worth Expressing. And the goal of this channel, the goal of this new project is to explore the world of creativity. Yes, I have the Truth That Heals podcast, and that's not just for cult members. I want the Truth That Heals podcast to be for anybody to come on the show, or maybe I'll even do like going in the streets. I don't know yet, but I want the Truth That Heals podcast to be a place where people can share their truth and something that's healing, something that can bring resilience. But while I have that, I've started this new channel, Creativity Worth Expressing, because what I believe is that, at least for me, I believe that there is this world of creativity, this realm, and I feel that everyone is surrounded by this realm in their own way. But how on earth can we tap into it? How can we get from this realm of creativity, this other world, and how can we bring it down into the real world? And I'm so amazed by artists, by musicians, by dancers, by all these forms of art and creativity, and how they're able to pluck it out from this cloud, from this world of creativity, this realm, and they're able to bring it to life. They're able to express it and to make it real in this world that we're in. So anyways, I don't know if I'm going too deep. I'm hoping that I'm making sense, but that's what I want to do with this new channel, is to invite authors, musicians, filmmakers, actors, comedians, whatever. I want them to come on this show, this new show that I'm making, Creativity Worth Expressing, because I want to share the beauty of art. I want to share the beauty of allowing oneself to be creative and to express oneself, because expressing oneself and removing that fear of, oh, what is that? What are people going to think of me? Or, what if I fail? I mean, yes, those are fears, but despite those fears, I want to explore the power of rising above those fears and making life beautiful. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this short, unfiltered mini podcast that I'm doing today, the solo podcast. So go ahead and check out Creativity Worth Expressing on YouTube. It's still new, it's still under construction, but hey, go subscribe, go give it a follow. And I just wanted to say also, I hope you all have a good, awesome day. Peace out, y'all.